Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. How are you doing? There was a very good domestic level fight, an eliminator for the British lightweight title between Youssef Khoumari and Reece Bellotti. And if you watched my videos before, you'll know I really love that domestic level stuff. Very often the matchups are really entertaining and impressive, and they provide a lot of action. And yeah, this was one of them. Like I say, an eliminator for a British title between 26-year-old Youssef Khoumari, who 3 fights ago he lost for one of those WBC international trinkets. I think that was at super feather to Jorge Castaneda. You know, good fight. He lost a majority decision, and that was over here in Greenwich. He's won a couple of little runarounds, you know, for against journeyman since then. And that's his only defeat, though, to Castaneda. And against Bellotti, he was facing a guy who went through a very bad patch in his career. Now, Bellotti was being sort of bigged up by DAZN as some great, you know, possible world-level fighter. Eddie Hearn was always mentioning him. You know, I mean, I remember seeing him get served up his first defeat against Ryan Doyle. That was about 5 years ago. He got stopped in 5 rounds, and he lost his Commonwealth title, which he'd, oddly enough, he'd won against Jason Cunningham, who's been flying lately. Now, that was at featherweight, by the way, and he stopped Cunningham in 6 rounds. That was a good win. But he made a defence against Ben Jones, and then he lost it in 5 rounds to Ryan Doyle. And I thought, well, that's kind of a shock, you know. Maybe it was just a bad day at the office. But then 2 fights later, he lost a split decision to Ryan Walsh. And then a couple of fights after that, he went on a 3-fight losing streak. He lost to Francesco Grandelli. That was over in Italy. He lost a split decision on over 10 rounds. He then came back to Britain, and I think it was during lockdown, wasn't it? One of those Matchroom HQ garden fights. He lost to Jordan Gill over 10 rounds. And then he really got smashed up by Ray Ford. And that was another one of those, you know, Matchroom HQ fights. So he ended up with 5 defeats. Since then, he fought once, but that was against Dean Dodge, and he picked up the Southern Area Super Feather title. So, you know, that was back in 2022, it was over a year ago. He's trained by Jim McDonnell, but clearly he didn't want to let go. He didn't want to say, no, enough's enough. I mean, 3 defeats on the bounce, it's enough to put anyone's, you know, confidence around the ankles. But he was able to come back. He kept training. When he went into the ring with Youssef Khoumari, he clearly was in shape. He looked totally cut. He had great tactics. He's 32 now, so he's not a young man anymore, not at that lower weight. But he wanted it more than Khoumari. And Khoumari himself, you know, it was 15-1-1, probably favoured to win. But Bellotti just seemed to want it more, because first couple of rounds, very close. Not really a great deal between them, I suppose. But you could tell there was an urgency about Bellotti. Khoumari, you know, did a little bit of Philly shell thing, seemed to be easing his way into the fight. But then in the 3rd round, Bellotti went sort of left hook crazy and caught Khoumari with a couple of very good left hooks, which kind of got his attention. I don't think he was shaken badly, but it was like, ooh, didn't like the feel of that. And from then on in, I mean, it just seemed to me that overall Bellotti was the one having the final say in the punches. There was some good clean work by Khoumari, definitely. But Bellotti was the one pushing the opponent back, getting him on the ropes. Sometimes, I mean, he was leaning on him. Sometimes he was smothering his work, and the cleaner work was coming from Khoumari. But there was the volume of work was coming from Bellotti. He had that I'm not going to be denied attitude. And maybe it's experience. But we talk constantly, certainly I do on these videos, about, you know, defeats do not define a career necessarily unless you let them. And you can come back from defeats. And it seems to me, and I don't have any inside information, but it seems to me that judging from this performance by Reece Bellotti, he's gone away, he said, I got beaten a few times. I've got 2 stoppage defeats on my record. I can either quit, or I can become a journeyman, or I can go back to the draw board and still have some ambition, still have some motivation. And he proved it against Khoumari that he's got that. And like I say, I think this was an eliminator, not for the super featherweight title, but for the lightweight title. I might be wrong about that. It might be the super featherweight title. I'm not sure, but clearly Bellotti has got something left. So I was impressed, and I'm impressed with the fortitude of Bellotti. And if Khoumari wants an example of what he has to do now that he's got 2 defeats on his record and 15 wins, look no further than Reece Bellotti. Defeats do not define your career if you learn from them. And big up Reece Bellotti for proving that today. And commiserations to Khoumari. He can come again. Strangely enough, they do have that. I think it's. I was going to say they've both faced. Who have they both faced now? I can't remember. I think they had a common opponent. I can't remember the name of them. But anyway, if you get defeated, you learn from your mistakes. That's got to be the way it is. Otherwise, you might as well quit or just become an also-ran. So this was on the DAZN card today. The undercard of the Sonny Edwards Campos fight. So let me know your opinions. It's not a bad fight. If you subscribe to DAZN, you can find it somewhere else. Go and have a look at it. It's a nice little action fight, up close. You know, lots of inside work. Well worth your time. Leave your comments below as always. I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.